So then the first one would be, remind me, Kohler Sports Corps donated some of our props that you will know when you see them. Joel Kapishke donated one of our set pieces, and we also do a slight homage to him because he played Falstaff in last show. Kurt Merriman specially made all of our beautiful weapons. They're like handcrafted out of wood, and they're beautiful, so thank you, Kurt. Is he here yet? Nope. Whatever. Thanks, Matt Kemble. Matt Kemble runs this space down here, the Underground Collaborative, and he's really cool. If you want a rehearsal space or a dance studio or you want to run a theater, talk to Matt, because he's also a really nice guy. You should just talk to him anyway. The lights above your heads are going to stay on so that we can see you like you can see us. Almost. It's a little more down there. Yeah, oh, the aisle is used. This area right here is used a whole lot. So if you want to go grab yourself a beer during the middle of Act 1, go ahead and do it. You need to go to the bathroom because you've drank so much beer. Go ahead and do it. They're all there. But just be aware that there's going to be well-armed actors running towards that door and back a lot. Cell phones, go ahead and keep your cell phone on. See what happens.
I will take it from you.
I am not responsible for what my well-armed actors do. You know what? It's a basement. You probably don't have reception down here anyway, so don't even worry about it. This is the question that I get most often when I'm like, I do bar and bourbon. It's drunk Shakespeare. They go, okay, but like real alcohol? Yes, of course, real alcohol. It's right here, and tonight we're going to get Leanne drunk. Woo! Leanne plays poems, and Leanne plays our chorus. So that is a heavy Act 1. So we're gonna front-load as much as
She said that. I said Exeter.
So in their program. So we're sure about they'll read about it. And we like to count in bar and bourbon, so ready?
Hold on! A kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then, should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But, pardon, gentles all, the flat, unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this basement hold the vasty fields of France? Yeah! Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Pardon, that a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, and let us, ciphers to this great account on your imaginary forces, work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined two mighty monarchies. Whose high, upreared, and abutting fronts the perilous, narrow ocean parts asunder. Think, when we talk of horses, that you see them printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth, for 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me, chorus, who prologue like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
Before God, I am exceeding weary.
If So high blood.
Faith does me. Though it discolors the complexion of my greatness to acknowledge it. Doth it not show vilely in me to desire small beer?
Why a prince should not be so loosely studied as to remember so weak a composition.
Be like then my appetite was not princely got, for by my troth, I do not remember the poor creature's small beer. But, indeed, these humble considerations make me out of love with my greatness. What a disgrace is it to me to remember thy name, or to know thy face tomorrow.
How ill if... so hard that you should talk so idly. Tell me, how many young princes would do so, their fathers being so sick as yours at this time is?
Shall I tell thee one thing, Points?
Yes, Faith, and let it be an excellent good thing.
It shall serve among wits of no higher breeding than thine.
Go to, I stand the push of the one thing that you will tell.
Mary, and tell thee it is not meet that I should be sad now my father is sick. Albeit I could tell to thee, as to what it pleases me, for fault of a better, to call my friend, I could be sad. And sad indeed, too.
Very hardly upon such a subject.
Oh, by this hand thou thinkst me as far in the devil's book as thou and Falstaff for obduracy and persistency. Let the end try the man. But I tell thee, my heart bleeds inwardly now my father is so sick. And keeping such vile company as thou art hath in reason taken from me all ostentation of sorrow.
The reason?
Wouldst thou think of me if I should
Oh, I would think thee a most princely hypocrite.
It would be every man's thought. And thou art a blessed fellow to think as every man thinks. Never a man's thought in the world keeps the roadway better than thine. Every man would think me an hypocrite indeed. And what excites your most worshipful thought to think so?
Why, because you have been so lewd and so much engrafted to Falstaff.
Oh, and to thee.
Oh, by the mass, here comes Bardolph.
And the boy that I gave Falstaff. I had him from me Christian, and look if the fat villain have not transformed him eight.
God save your grace.
And yours, most noble Bardolph.
Oh, come, you virtuous ass. Must you be blushing? Well, wherefore blush you now? What a maidenly man at arms are you become? Is to such a matter to get a pot's maidenhead?
Calls me in now, my lord, through a red lattice, and I could discern no part of his face from the window. At last, I spied his eyes, and he thought he had made 2 holes in the alewife's petticoat, and so peeked through.
Oh, has not the boy profited?
Away, you horse son, right away!
Away, you rascally outdeals, dream away!
We instruct us, boy. What dream, boy?
Sorry, my lord, albeit drunk she was delivered of a firebrand, therefore I call him her dream.
Oh, a crown's worth of good interpretation. There 'tis, boy.
Oh, that this blossom could be kept from cankers. Well, there is 6 pence to preserve thee.
If you do not make him hang among you, the gallows shall be raw.
And how doth thy master, Bardolph?
Well, my lord, we heard your grace was coming to town. There's a letter for you.
Oh, delivered with good respect. I do allow this Wen to be as familiar with me as my dog, and he holds his place. For look you how he writes.
Sir John Falstaff, Knight, to the son of the king, nearest his father, Harry, Prince of Wales, greeting.
Why, this is a certificate.
Peace. I will imitate the honorable Romans in brevity.
Oh, he sure means brevity in breath. Short-winded. I commend me to thee. I commend thee, and I leave thee. Be not too familiar with points. For he misuses thy favor so much that he swears thou art to marry his sister Nell. Repent at idle times as thou mayst, and so farewell. Thine, by yea and no, which is as much to say as thou usest him. Jack Falstaff with my familiars, John with my brothers and sisters, and Sir John with all Europe, my lord. I'll steep this letter in sack and make him eat it.
That's to make him eat 20 of his words. But do you use me thus, Ned? Must I marry your sister?
God send the wench no worse fortune, but I never said so.
Well, thus we play the fools with the time, and the spirits of the wise sit in the clouds and mock us. Is your master here in London?
Yea, my lord.
Where sups he?
At the old place, my lord, in East Cheap.
Sirrah, you boy, and Bardolph. No word to your master that I am yet come to town. There's for your silence.
I have no tongue, sir.
And for mine, sir, I will govern it.
Very well. Go! I know you all, and will a while uphold the unyoked humor of your idleness. Yet herein will I imitate the sun, who doth permit the base, contagious clouds to smother up his beauty from the world, that when he please again to be himself, being wanted, he may be more wondered at, by breaking through the foul and ugly mists of vapors that did seem to strangle him. I'll so offend to make offense a skill, redeeming time when men think least I will.
For God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings. How some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered. For within the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king keeps death his court, and there the antic sits, scoffing his state, and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little scene to monarchize, be feared and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh which walls about our life were brass impregnable. And humored thus, comes at last, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall. And farewell, king.
The care on thee depending hath fed upon the body of my father. Therefore thou best of gold art worse than gold. Other, less fine in carat, is more precious, preserving life in medicine potable. But thou, most fine, most honored, most renowned, hast et thy bearer up. My gracious Lord, my father, you won it, wore it, kept it, gave it me. And plain and right must my possession be, which I, with more than with a common pain, against all the world, will rightfully maintain. Princes all, believe me, I beseech you. My father is gone wild into his grave, for in his tomb lie my affections. And with his spirit, sadly I survive to mock the expectation of the world, to frustrate prophecies, and to raise out rotten opinion who hath writ me down after my seeming. The tide of blood in me hath proudly flowed in vanity, till now. Now doth it turn and ebb back to the sea, where it shall mingle with the state of floods, and flow henceforth in formal majesty.
Shall we call in the ambassador, my liege?
Not yet, my cousin. We would be resolved before we hear him of some things of weight that task our thoughts concerning us and friends.
God and his angels guard your sacred throne and make you long becoming.
So we thank you. My learned lords, we pray you to proceed, for we will hear, note, and believe in heart that what you speak is in your conscience, washed as pure as sin with baptism.
Then hear me, gracious sovereign, and you peers who owe yourselves, your lives, and services to this imperial throne. There is no bar to make against your highness's claim to practice.
May I, with right and conscience, make this claim.
The sin upon my head, dread sovereign. Stand for your own, unwind your bloody flag, look back into your mighty ancestors.
Awake remembrance of these valiant dead, and with your puissant arm renew their fates. You are their heir. You sit upon their throne. The blood and courage that renowned them runs in your veins, and my thrice puissant liege is in the very Maymorn of his youth, ripe for exploits and mighty enterprises.
Your brother kings and monarchs of the earth do all expect that you will rouse yourself as did the former lions of your blood.
They know your grace hath cause, and means, and might. So hath your highness. Never king of England had richer nobles, more loyal subjects, whose hearts have left their bodies here in England, in my pavilion in the fields of France.
Let their bodies follow, dear liege, with bloods and sword and fire to win your right. But in aid whereof we of the spirituality will raise your highness such a mighty sum as never the clergy did at one time bring into any of your ancestors.
Call in the messengers sent from the Dauphin. Now are we well resolved, and by God's help and yours, the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, will bend it to our awe, break it all to pieces. Now are we well prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin Dauphin, for we hear your greeting is from him, not from the king.
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge.
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king. Therefore, with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dauphin's mind.
Thus then, in few, your highness lately sending into France France did claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III. In answer of which claim the prince, our master, says that you savor too much of your youth, and bids you be advised, there's naught in France that can be with a nimble galliard one. You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore sends you meter for your spirit,